Are you ready to dive deep into the intersections of technology, law, and business? Catch the Tech Intersect Podcast on our new Advantage Evans YouTube channel. Whether you're connecting on the go or binging episodes from the comfort of your home, you'll never miss a moment again. Plus, you'll experience all types of exciting shorts, special events content, breaking news lives and the comprehensive learning series. Subscribe today, hit the bell for notifications, and enjoy podcast videos and more. Use the link or search for Advantage Evans on YouTube to find our channel so you can watch, learn, and engage where insider meets impact. See you there.
I'm Jamilia Grier, and this is Tech Intersect. The consequences of not learning for lawyers is grave. Not just for the individual who's practicing, but for society. There are so many nuances and risks that we don't yet know about. And so the regulators are behind, businesses are behind, lawyers are behind. And so out of those three groups, who is the one that is best prepared and equipped to collect resources of information and educate everyone? And I really think it's the lawyers. Lawyers can spearhead working groups with government. Lawyers can teach, as you know, and as you do. We're just taking accountability and we're accepting it. And I think the whole legal profession at various points in various spaces around the world can chip in on this massive project.
Welcome to Tech Intersect. I'm your host, Tanya Evans, and my life and work exist at the heart of law, business, and technology. Yeah, I've earned a few fancy titles and degrees over the years, but the bottom line is I'm a writer, speaker, teacher, and lifelong learner, and I'm really excited that you've joined me on this journey. So what is Tech Intersect? Well, it's authentic, empowering conversations with really interesting guests who demystify complex topics to prepare you for the future, because your future is now. And it exists where law, business, and tech intersect. Get ready to listen, learn, and leverage. Let's get started. Hey everybody, welcome back to Tech Intersect, the podcast where technology and intersectionality meet innovation and entrepreneurship. I'm your host, Professor Tanya Evans, and today we are honored to have a distinguished guest joining us all the way from Dubai. Jamilia Grier is a trailblazing international technology lawyer, my compadre. She's a podcast host, again my compadre, and the visionary CEO and founder of ByteBao. With a remarkable career spanning over 15 years in international legal practice across China, Singapore, and Dubai, Jamilia brings a wealth of experience to the forefront of law and emerging technology, from her pivotal roles as the global head of data and privacy operations at Standard Chartered Bank. Super important. Can't wait to talk about that. To her tenure as vice president of legal compliance at Marriott International, Jamilia has navigated the complex landscape of data, privacy, and compliance with finesse and foresight. We will talk about all of that and more in a moment. But first, Jamilia, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me on the show, Tanya. It's a pleasure to be here, and I look forward to the conversation today.
Outstanding, because I'm so interested to delve into your insights on the intersection of law and technology, Web3. That is precisely what this podcast was created to do. I also want to explore your journey as a leader in the global market and really uncover the strategies that you have employed throughout your career to empower, to inspire, and to educate businesses with what I believe so strongly in, this idea of borderless technology. Share with our listeners a bit about your journey. What inspired you to become an international, not spy, but technology lawyer and entrepreneur?
Yes. And, maybe that was another life for that role. But my roots are from Connecticut, born and raised in Connecticut, and went to undergrad out there in Connecticut as well. And I just remember having this affinity towards international relations and global affairs. And I had never been exposed to anything international. No one in my family was doing anything globally. And so it was something where I knew that I had this desire to do something on the global stage, but I didn't know how to do it. And then one country which was quite active during the time when I was going to school in terms of changing their economy and building up their economy was China. That really was the spark for me. I took off. I went, spent a summer teaching English in China, like many people do nowadays. And it really was the start of my career. That was really the first stepping stone of me taking on different roles that had sort of an international flair. But it all began really just with this desire to understand, how does international business happen and what really are the foundations of it? And from someone from small town Connecticut, it just seemed so foreign to me.
I love that you leaned in with a sense of wonder and intellectual curiosity about what's beyond we call it kind of a physical border, but they're human made when we think of that. And also thinking about blockchain technology, this next iteration of the internet, and how we are more connected than ever. It's almost bringing us back to our original self of being truly connected. Global markets open up, liquidity opens up with markets where you reach beyond kind of these human-made borders to really explore the possibilities. And so that leads me to the work that you do as CEO and founder of ByteBao. I know that you're deeply immersed in the world of technology consulting, but do so much more. So talk about, one, the origin story of the business and the goal of the business and any challenges that businesses face when dealing with the legal and the regulatory landscapes across the globe.
I mean, I think like so many lawyers these days, we are clamoring to get our hands on information on what is happening in the space, which is why we both have podcasts, and we're, attempting to take on some of that good work and educate people.
Yes.
But, there really was this desire for me to take what I had learned in my past careers, I'd say, now that this is like stage 2, but take all of that in terms of trade compliance and data privacy and, really how do you manage data across borders? How do you set up international businesses when you have data flows that are going across borders? Take that and bring it into an emerging technology space like Web3. And so clients were very interested in how to incorporate Web3 technology or NFTs into their existing Web2 business. And so that sort of pushed me into the space that if I'm going to be advising on legal compliance for the tech industry, then you better know about this new technology. And so it was really a race to study up. And when it came time to scale and hire to grow the team, I realized that many lawyers also were in the same situation. And so ByteBao really is a culmination of not just helping businesses, but also helping lawyers to understand really the legal issues, the challenges, the regulators' perspectives, what's happening around the world, quite frankly, because lawyers all over the world are scratching their head and wondering, if I'm advising in this jurisdiction and my client wants to do something that potentially is not here yet, where can they go? It's really a matter of understanding the global stage and understanding the evolution of the regulations across different countries and borders.
As a law professor, this concerns and challenges and propels me forward in a number of different ways. When I first kind of fell down the rabbit hole, as we all do with various aspects of technology, it was back in 2017. I think the industry was kind of reeling from whatever the latest hack or issue at the time. So a lot of people were saying blockchain, not Bitcoin, right? We have this ebb and flow of, yay, we love cryptographically secured assets. Oh no, we don't want anything to do with them. It's really the underlying technology. I've always thought it's a both and, but I just feel even today, and we're talking in 2024, current lawyers are woefully unprepared for the exponential growth in the tech community, what the new issues are that face the intellectual property lawyer. And to your point, a client comes, we're listening to a story. They don't know necessarily what the legal issues are. And we also see the evolution across the globe at the same time, where we're really building the plane while we're flying it. And in some countries, it doesn't fly. And in some countries, it took off 4 years ago, 5 years ago. So even if a client comes in and they are building in a particular jurisdiction, the nature of the technology calls us to have to ask the question of what happens when we have a footprint unintentionally in another jurisdiction and what technologies need to be in place. I find that my colleagues in law schools, yours out in practice, it's almost like deer in headlights. I feel like I don't have enough questions of people who feel they aren't forced to learn, or it's something that people are learning mid-career and that terrifies them. How do you have the conversations to say, I understand legacy leader, I understand legacy lawyer, but we have to move forward and really pivot your practice? What are those conversations like?
The consequences of not learning for lawyers is grave, not just for the individual who's practicing, but for society. We're seeing it. We're seeing people lose fortunes. We had a couple of years ago in terms of the retina scanning. I won't say the name, but I'm sure that people know the data privacy issue in terms of scanning a retina in order to be able to have access to a cryptocurrency token. There are so many nuances and risks that we don't yet know about. And so the regulators are behind, businesses are behind, lawyers are behind. And so out of those three groups, who is the one that is best prepared and equipped to collect resources of information and educate everyone? And I really think it's the lawyers. Lawyers can spearhead working groups with government. Lawyers can teach, as you know, and as you do. What a wonderful thing for you to be in a position where you can have these conversations and also incorporate it into the classroom learning and say, did you know about this? Mm-hmm. The risk is that in some situations, we're not fast enough in educating our lawyers on a mass scale.
Right.
So you have your property as your core L1 course and you have contracts, but where's your digital assets? This is a new asset class. Where's your technology? I really struggle to think of a business today that doesn't have any kind of technology component. And so it's no longer acceptable to graduate from law school and not have a grasp on how technology works, even if it's in the Web2 space. Cloud storage and how that works. That's something that lawyers need to understand, because even if your client is not a Web3 business, I'm sure if they're just selling shoes online, they have cloud storage. And so we're just taking accountability and we're accepting it. And I think the whole legal profession at various points and various spaces around the world can chip in on this massive project.
I couldn't have said it better. I do feel fortunate to be in a position, even as far as back as 2018, to start the first blockchain, crypto, and law online certificate program. At the time, the core of that was, of course, blockchain, crypto, and law that I taught as an kind of a survey course, quite frankly, a little bit about a lot of the landscape. But also my entry point was to take a deep dive at the intersection of my existing expertise as an intellectual property lawyer. It made so much sense. It guided my research agenda, and I took a closer look. The first article that I wrote in the space was CryptoKitties, Cryptography, and Copyright. So it was at the time where CryptoKitties was all the rage, or maybe not all the rage, but this amazing introduction into non-fungible tokens. And you used the curious digital cat as an example, but it really was more important and immersive and transformative when we think about the nature of what a unique digital identifier can mean for identity, for provenance, authentication, and all sorts of things. So that really opened up a large area. So your point that even at the first year of law school level, to have this as a component of every doctrinal course, and in addition to having a sufficient amount of courses to take deeper dives. One thing I would love to do is to have a smart contracts course, or I've started building custom GPTs. So how to leverage that technology. That's a great experiential course, right? To get future lawyers immersed in the technology. It is imperative And just a final point, and back to you, as a matter of ethics, the ethical obligation for technological competence is far more than turning on your computer. And we found in the height of the pandemic, some people didn't know how to do that. Now, I'm not judging. I'm just saying, right? If we can't do those basic things and keep up with the changes, there is no way that you can spot the issues and solve the problems that Web3 builders, that legislators and regulators need to face. Have you ever found yourself puzzled, wondering if cryptocurrency is just a fleeting trend, a scam, or perhaps the future? Hi, I'm Dr. Tanya Evans, and I'm here to introduce you to my new book, Digital Money Demystified, Your Ultimate Guide to Deciphering the Crypto Maze. As a legal policy and crypto education expert, I've crafted this book to cut through the chaos, debunk the myths, and tackle the FUD. That's fear, uncertainty, and doubt. From captivating headlines to meticulously sourced data, I guide you through the promises and the pitfalls of digital assets. With 12 chapters and 10 myths dispelled, Digital Money Demystified is designed for investors, business owners, and professionals eager to navigate the digital economy. It's more than just a book. It's a tool for economic empowerment that directs you safely and confidently from cash to crypto. Say goodbye to bewilderment and hello to enlightenment. Transform from crypto curious to confident. Sidestep those scammers and embrace the future of work, wealth, and creativity. Grab your copy of Digital Money Demystified today at the book's companion website, digitalmoneydemystified.com, or wherever books are sold. This is the right book, the right voice at the right time. Don't miss out on the digital revolution. Stop by digitalmoneydemystified.com now. Thinking about your expertise in data privacy and compliance, and you mentioned some data privacy issues. I teach info privacy law too. What are some of the best practices that you recommend for businesses? We'll go back to businesses for a second to ensure that they remain compliant. We've seen the other side of that and talked about what lawyers need to do to help their businesses, but what should businesses know as well?
You love listening to podcasts, but have you ever thought about starting your own podcast? Maybe you want to build a brand, grow your business, or are looking for an excuse to talk about your favorite hobby. Whatever your reason for making a podcast, Buzzsprout is the place to start. Since 2009, Buzzsprout has helped over 300,000 people launch their own podcasts. Buzzsprout walks you step by step through the whole process and will give you powerful tools to start, grow, and monetize your podcast. Ready to get started? Click the link in the show notes to get our free step-by-step guide to starting your podcast today.
Businesses should never wait until there's a problem, for sure. But I think that compliance starts at the product design and product development phase, so that you're not surveying which countries have already received the sensitive data of your customers. You've already created those prospective data flows and your data architecture. And so it's a matter of which market do I want to service? What are the requirements there? Not just in terms of data privacy, but also encryption. I mean, it's kind of, as you mentioned, it's a survey, right? I mean, we're looking at data privacy. We haven't even touched upon encryption or the other standards that are in place that companies need to be aware of. And so it's a matter of starting with the business model, what it is, and where you want it to go, and then incorporating that compliance in all along the way, rather than waiting till the end. It's really a tough mindset shift for a lot of businesses to think, oh, we're going to have the lawyers join the design team? Why would we do that? What kind of roadblock is that? But it's not a roadblock. And if you have the right team in place and you have a business savvy lawyer, it actually should help you develop faster. And you don't need to come back to the drawing board and get checked. So I think really that's where we're at now is designing with privacy and other just compliance issues in mind and in terms of building a product. And it also goes back to your point about ethics. There are a lot of things that businesses can do today that maybe they should not do.
Right.
Businesses will always be ahead of the regulations when it comes to innovation. They'll always be the one to say, oh, we can do that? Okay. And then you'll have the question of, well, should we do that? Right. And so that's where the strong leadership has to come into place. And that's a whole nother conversation, but it is something that just, another point about why lawyers really should be involved in this conversation and just lean in and guide regulators, businesses, and countries on this.
That makes me think of the work that you did in your role as global head of data privacy and operations at Standard Chartered. One, tell people who aren't familiar with Standard Chartered Bank what that is and the role that you played, really the pivotal role in shaping data governance strategies, because so much of that I hear in the story of now how to best prepare businesses to move forward as well.
Standard Chartered Bank is an almost 200-year-old British global banking services institution. And, they've been all the way from retail banking, institutional banking. They have all of the different departments that your large global bank would have. And when I came in, essentially, I joined a team which was a digital transformation team. And we had the lovely task of saying, okay, 200-year-old British bank, we're going to bring you to 2020, and you're going to like it.
Right.
And you're going to love us for it. And so bringing such a, traditional old institution with literally millions of records into this new age is no small feat, but so they called me, of course.
Exactly. That's a whole other podcast.
Right. And a whole other podcast. And many banks, to be frank and to be, transparent, many banks are having the same digital transformation. They're still in that process, whether it's for record keeping or for protecting customer data or for checking about data flows, how data is flowing in and out of certain countries. Once again, certain financial data, if it has other data attached to it, it could be sensitive data. And so all of that, they really need to do overhaul and to look at that. And interestingly enough, Standard Chartered Bank also has a small venture arm to it called SC Ventures, where they have sort of a sandbox to test and play with different technologies and innovations that they could potentially use for the larger bank, or maybe they decide not to use it for the larger bank. And so our role was really to, across the entire bank, all the business and functions, and also that venture arm, is to digitize and to teach HR that those records that you had on paper, actually, we need to scan them. And by the way, those boxes that are in storage and have been for 50 years will need to be burned. It was a massive overhaul, and I'm sure the bank is still working on that. But these are the sorts of things that what we would call Web2 businesses or traditional brick and mortar businesses are faced with. They're faced with this massive task of staying ahead of the curve, staying relevant, staying digital, and making sure they're compliant as well. And I think that's just a very interesting piece of this whole puzzle, because you have companies that are Web3 that just start out digital and encrypted and all of this. And then you have companies that are very well capitalized, but very not digital, as we'll say.
That's a really fair point, because that gets to the heart of the digital native company as opposed to perhaps the digital immigrant that didn't start there and needs to transfer, update, reskill and upskill, right? Their workforce, but also the technology. And the longer you wait, the more painful and more expensive it is, because today's prices are not yesterday's prices, for sure. And it also makes me think, touching back a bit to, as lawyers step out, thinking about the skills that you utilize right now most often. One, you are Mandarin fluent. You have global perspectives. So speaking more than English, Americans, I need to tell you, it's a not so well kept secret that this is not the only language in the world. I know that we have been fed something, but to step beyond that, to be fluent in at least one other language, still puts us behind, but at least we're getting closer. What are some of the other skill sets, hard or soft, that you use now as an attorney that you would encourage law students to focus on either in law school or as a complement?
I encourage law students and newly minted lawyers to network outside of the profession, because we learn all of the basic skills in law school. And of course, you will continue to learn as you practice and as you craft your skill and hone your skill. But you have to talk to the industry. You have to go to their conferences. You have to read what they read. You have to understand their business model. And I think that basic desire to learn about technology as an industry, where is it headed? I'm even interested, I may be taking it too far, but I'm interested in this I think there was a contract that was granted in the U.S. government to put moon tracks on the moon, the railway on the moon that was granted. That's a whole nother podcast series segment.
Right.
But it's in the spirit of there are advancements in innovation that are happening that are outside the legal profession, but need lawyers' eyes. We don't have any ethical eyes on these things. And not that lawyers are totally unbiased, but at least to have someone raising the issues that should be raised. And so I would say keep your eyes on technology and keep your eyes on innovation in the industry.
One of the ways I do that is with this podcast, and I know you have a podcast as well, Barely Legal in Web3, explores the intersections of law, technology, and Web3. So talk about some insights from your podcast. One, as a means to keep your finger on the pulse, and what trends that you see or developments that you're currently observing in the Web3 space.
I think one of the things that I enjoy the most about the podcast is the global nature of it. And I guess that's part of me now. Anything I do, I'm going to be taking a little bit from here, a little bit from there.
And intergalactic, evidently, right?
Exactly. There's so much healthy competition around the world. And Singapore is one market. I went to Singapore last month and did a few episodes there. They are beefing up their licensing framework in terms of digital payments, which is very interesting. Dubai is, they've had VARA, which is the Virtual Assets Regulatory Authority, and has rolled that out and now is in the process of approving applications. But businesses are learning that it's not just you submit a paper and that's it, right? And so all of these different temperatures that are happening around the world, I think that's fascinating. And it's fascinating to see the culture of the country really embedded in the regulatory framework in terms of where the country wants to go and what is that direction of development of the country. And I won't speak about US because, we're still waiting for those regulations, but
time marches on, technology moves on. And if we can't get it together, there are other places where people can do business. Business is changing. This idea of isolationism is a thing of the past, and you live by the sword, you die by the sword, because we have the opportunity either at each inflection point where it's not incremental, but that exponential moment, that quantum leap moment, we have an opportunity, but it lasts for a short period of time in terms of leadership. And I also get the sense, given the openness of markets, even though I feel countries kind of wrangling to maintain the status quo, that the idea of hyper competition is necessarily having to yield to collaborative efforts, because things that happen in country A necessarily impact country B. It's always been that way, but technology has increased the velocity of getting from point A to point B. And so the best lawyers, the best businesses, the most proactive and productive legislators and regulators will see that. And even with the lag that you mentioned, which is just necessarily so, right? Technology moves on, fails forward, and it's a feature, not a bug of the laws to create a foundation, predictability, reliability, and trust. There's a crisis of trust, and I think technology is attempting to fill the void for trust, right? Having rules, not rulers. And so it'll be interesting to see. I love the work that you're doing. One final question before I get the final deets of where people can learn more about you and your work is, and I should have asked this at the outset, but we talked about lawyers being at the table with business early, not as an afterthought. Another afterthought that I'm consistently dismayed by is the afterthought of inclusivity as we are building otherwise agnostic technological tools that start to take on the same marginalizing aspects because of who is doing the data collection and the storage and the manipulation and the dissemination. So talk about the responsibility to have social impact and ethical considerations, particularly the work that you do at ByteBao.
As you're saying that, I mean, I'm just thinking and envisioning so many ways in which we can do better. And I've gotten to a point where I realize that the only way it's going to happen is if the people who are underrepresented voices step in and create their own table. That's whatever group you would identify, because the onus that has been pressed upon Web2 that was not met and was not fulfilled, it has continued to happen in Web3. And that is also another reason why, the podcast is called Barely Legal in Web3, is because we are on the fringes of a lot of issues. We are supposed to be decentralized, but we're really not. We are supposed to be transparent, but we're really not. And in some cases, we're supposed to be legal and some businesses are not. So just really highlighting that and knowing that it hasn't been solved, and knowing that lawyers of all backgrounds, but particularly women and particularly underrepresented voices, need to come forward and do the work, because no one's going to make a space at the table. I mean, I think that's my own personal view, is that we're past that. It's time to jump in and do what you can. And I think podcasts like this and showing up and being present and, having those intellectual discussions is part of the work as well.
So glad that we're connected, and there's so much work to be done. I am more encouraged than ever that at the intersection of my existing expertise and the advent of new technologies that challenge but also present opportunities is precisely where both you and I not only need to be, but we are. I celebrate your work so much, and I look forward to future conversations. We have to make this a little more regular. We're just going to have to cross collab.
We are going to have to. We are going to have
Right?
to.
If you want this, I'll send this to you. Cross collab. I'll come on. Strength in numbers. So the work is great, but the more people and the more hands, the lighter the lift. So talk to us, Jamilia, about ByteBao and any exciting projects coming up and where people can learn more about you and your work.
I'm pretty active on LinkedIn for a social forum. I normally post my thoughts and insights there, as well as our newsletter. And ByteBao right now, as we flesh out this sort of online education platform, we're entering into an accelerator, which is put together by a company called New Campus, Open Campus rather. And it's sponsored by Animoca Brands as well. And so really the question is, how do we leverage resources and experts like yourself, Professor Evans, to pool this information together, package it, and say, lawyers, you have your CLE requirements. Now let's get busy.
Right.
Let's get busy. And for you new students, you're not off the hook either. You're not going to have to do it as well. And so packaging all of that up and making it accessible to those who need to learn, quite frankly.
Absolutely. No, students, I know you're listening and you will be watching, and you're not off the hook. It happens to be the beginning of exams week. Help me help you. Listen to what Attorney Grier is saying. There's plenty of work to be done and lots of opportunity. It's one of the most exciting things that I teach now, blockchain, crypto, and law. I have noticed since 2018, the quality of the questions and the engagement of students. There's no convincing them about this, right? They don't have to unlearn things. They're leaning in so they can lead. It's one of the most exciting things. And for all the reasons that we've talked about here, I look forward to continuing to nation build with you. I think I might need to take a trip. I need to take a trip to Dubai. I need to get to Singapore. I'm going to have my people call your people. But until then, drop or share your website. Again, I will obviously place it in the show notes as well.
Yes, absolutely. If people are looking to learn more about what we're working on, it's ByteBao, which is ByteBao.io rather than .com. And This has been a pleasure for me, and I look forward to having you on mine as well.
Absolutely. All right, Tag, you're it. And thank you so much. Thank you so much for listening to the Tech Intersect podcast. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you love it, please tell the world. If not, go ahead and tell me. And in either case, drop a comment or ping me on social media at IPProfEvans with the hashtag Tech Intersect. And finally, a quick reminder on digital safety. There are a lot of scammers out there impersonating me and others, and I need your help. Now hear this, and remember, I will never slide into your DMs to say peace and blessings or hey, and I will never reach out to solicit your time or your money on social media like ever. I'm not a trader. I am an educator and an attorney licensed in 4 states. Thank you very much. I'm here to inform, inspire, and empower. No cap and definitely no Forex. So be careful, make good choices, and remember, I developed an entire free masterclass about the topic of digital safety in the crypto space. So check out secureyourcryptobag.com for more information. That's secureyourcryptobag.com. All right, that's all for this episode. Until next time, continue to shine. Hey there, Tech Intersect listeners. Have you ever encountered naysayers claiming crypto is too volatile, a total scam, or a hacker's paradise? Well, it's time to dispel these persistent myths and reveal the truth. It's exactly why I wrote Digital Money Demystified, available now wherever books are sold. And this book is your golden ticket from being crypto curious to radiating crypto confidence. Navigate the crypto world with clarity and conquer the chaos. Get your copy today to learn about my journey, separate fact from fiction, and maybe even embark on a transformative journey yourself. Don't stop there. Enhance your learning experience exponentially. Join the DMD Insiders Membership Club. It's a gateway to premier coaching, engaging community, and unparalleled content that complements the insights in the book. Together, we'll unlock the potential of digital money and stride confidently into the future. Visit digitalmoneydemystified.com, grab your guide to the crypto universe, and become an esteemed member of our Insiders Club. Let's decode the digital dollar and invest in your crypto-savvy future right now.